Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Today is Monday, December 11th, 2017. Blasting off with some UFO reports. This one comes from Oallen, Missouri, and it occurred October 20th, 2017. In brief, the witness states, pulsating lights hovering with star-like objects flying near it, then disappearing. Full report states, I was sitting on my porch having a cigarette when I noticed a military jet flying low and slow over my cul-de-sac. Curious, I watched for a second, wondering why it was flying so slow and low. As I watched it pass the tree line behind my neighbor's house, I noticed a pulsating light in the distance where the jet was heading, perpendicular to the pulsating lights. At first glance, I thought maybe it was a star, but after inspecting it, I noticed that it was flashing different colors of light around the object. As I was observing, I watched a bright white light descend from the object and watch it flew 10 feet from the object. Then it just disappeared. About 2 minutes after watching that light disappear, another military jet flew over my cul-de-sac, heading in the same direction as the first jet did, perpendicular. I ran to my house to get binoculars to get a closer look at the object, but by that time I ran back outside, the object had finished and vanished. Crap, huh? Our next UFO sighting comes from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This occurred October 27th, 2017. In brief, the witness states, saw multiple craft types, probably 40 plus. 15 to 20 were triangle, maybe triangle human likely, others unknown. Sightings confirmed in days after as well. The full report states, October 27th, 2017, after midnight, I was in my backyard. Seen 4 craft, glowing white with occasional red, blue lights blinking. Not planes. At times they hovered and moved about in all different directions. My girlfriend seen pretty much everything I seen. Against her pleas for me not, I attempted to signal one of the crafts with a light and asked it, thinking it could maybe hear me, if it would and wanted to make contact with me. I have always had a serious interest in UFOs and ETs. The one I signaled appeared to track and follow me, to store up from where we reside and back. At one point, it looked as though it was descending on me, but seemed to have second thoughts and stayed put. I continued to sit out in my yard, observing that particular one. For the most part, it didn't move much beyond that. During this time, I also seen craft, which I would assume were satellite level, in orbit. These looked like stars, and their movement was erratic, changing direction and speed multiple times. I also noticed certain large star patterns that did not seem familiar, and there were a few of each kind that seemed identical as far as I could tell. The patterns noted were 3-star triangular. These were huge, too. The others consisted of 2 stars. Best way can describe those is hold a cigar up to the night sky and picture a star on each end. I say this too because there appeared to be a dark silhouette against night sky of that shape with the star on either end. Keep this in mind. This is the one thing I saw that night and the few following that I am least certain about, but I figured I'd note it anyway. Now it gets real crazy. Hovering slowly over our houses, I spotted the first of many triangle-shaped craft that, to the best of my knowledge, were the tribe models. Built by us. After spotting 2 or more, I had one fly directly over my head where I was sitting in my yard. I swear, I might have been able to hit it with a rock. On a side note, I jokingly spoke out to one a few minutes before that and asked if it could send one right over me, possibly lower, so I could get a better look at it. Yeah, that could be a coincidence, but to say I was shocked and freaked out is an understatement. We seen what we figured to be at least 20 of these patrolling all over the sky at various altitudes for the rest of the night. As dawn started to break, they all seemed to be headed west in line after the other. I also went to note I spotted what appeared to be one of them cloaking, possibly in an attempt to look like a normal aircraft. Reading up on these seems to indicate this ability. The next day the skies were clear, and I believe they had this ability on full display during the day. I only picked up on it because I spotted a commercial airliner which seemed odd in that it was a flat, dull white appearance flying overhead with chemtrails following. Here's the real strange part. It had what I'd call an orb to the very front left of it, leaving a trail as well. I did a double take when it suddenly looked like a smaller version of the plane, both same dull white color. The smaller craft immediately took off, leaving the larger on in the dust, so to speak. There were many more of these planes that seemed odd to me following that first set, all leaving the trails. The following evening it looked as though we might get a better show than last night. Right around 7 p.m., the tribe craft were out again. Quite a few at that. I seen the star ones again as well. When all this began, emergency vehicles could be heard screaming around the city, and for a while. Suddenly, it died down. So did the tribe sightings. They seemed to disappear, while some were still visible, but at much higher altitude. Another coincidence? No idea. In between all of this, another tribe flew very low, almost right over me and my neighbor. I yelled for him to look and basically said, "See, I told you." He thought I was either nuts or on something when I told him about the night before. He seemed spooked and nervously said, "I'm sure it was just a plane." I asked, how many planes that low make zero noise? What I can't understand about all of this is there was no mention of anything in the local newspaper, news outlets, small and large. Any online searches came up dead. I asked so many people locally if they spotted anything, and pretty much all looked at me like I have 3 heads. Only one neighbor up the block knew what I was talking about. He seemed ecstatic when he walked by and I asked him about it. He stated his mother kept bugging him about the crazy stuff in the sky. That's basically me, my girlfriend, and some guy and his mom that's seen this. I find it all so strange, mainly due to the sighting being so large, both in number of craft and duration of the event. Are you or anyone else aware of any of this? If so, I would love to hear. Keep in mind that before all of this, I have never seen a single UFO or ET in my entire existence spanning 38 years. I guess what else bothers me in the, quote, coincidence I see surrounding this, as I stated earlier, I have always had a deep interest in all of this. What excites me and almost scares me, though, is the week leading to this, I had always deep interest turn into an obsession that's dominated every thought to the point of extremes I cannot describe. It was as though I experienced having premonitions about it all, as if someone or something was calling out to me. I know it sounds crazy. Believe me, I have no doubt I'm the resident crazy on my social media circle. It ain't over yet either. It's been a bit strange since. Guess I'll just have to see how far the rabbit hole goes. Sorry for my rambling, and if you read this, then thank you for taking the time. Okay, interesting. Next UFO sighting in Anata, Missouri. This occurred October 28th, 2017. In brief, the witness states traditional circular looking UFO that you would see on ET. Bright white lights all the way around, hovering. In more detail, they go on to state, my family and I were at a hunt club over the weekend, fishing. I don't want to disclose the name for fear of them getting mad. We stayed at a house on the property in a town called Anata, which is approximately 15 minutes away from the clubhouse. The house sits in the middle of farmland and hunting ground and stands alone. This is the duck house and is primarily used for duck hunters. On Saturday night, I was standing out on the deck looking east at the sky. Right above the tree line, about a mile away, there was a very large UFO hovering. It stayed in one spot for a good 10 minutes. I went in and grabbed the binoculars, and sure enough, it was a beautiful, perfectly round craft with several lights in a perfect row all the way around. Without the binoculars, the lights looked orangish yellowish. With the binoculars, the lights were perfectly round, bright white lights. I called my son and nephew out, and they also saw it. I took pictures, but they looked nothing like what I saw, which is a huge disappointment. In fact, I'm sure I took way more photos than what's actually on my phone. Only one is showing up, then goes to my son and nephew of them sleeping. Then there are a few more, ? They were awake when I took all the pictures, and now they are out of order? ? I tried getting a picture through the binoculars. That definitely didn't work, LOL. It was really cold this past Saturday, so we kept going to the window to check if it had moved. It did move slightly up and down after about 15 minutes. After about 20 minutes from first spotting it, it was gone. So we didn't get to see it fly in any direction. I took pictures in the daylight to show how far the trees were from us and circled the location of the craft. I will also upload a picture I found on the internet. It's the closest to what I saw through the binoculars, only the lights were bright white and I could only see what I circled. There was no sound from the craft. The next UFO sighting comes from Galesville, Alabama. This occurred October 29th, 2017. In brief, the witness states, very fast-moving lights, star height. See them every night. In more detail, they state, me and many other people watch these objects every night. I'm starting to think I have the most active UFO sightings on Earth. We usually see 20 plus a night. These objects fly as high as the stars and can do some crazy movements and unreal speeds. They seem to be coming from a portal right above my house. An alien adventure. The title states, man saw two Nordic ETs at Mayan ruins. Michael Johnson has been surfing since he was 10 years old, and his passion for riding the waves has taken him to the shores of many countries. In the 1980s, when he and a friend were on the coast of Belize, they decided to travel inland to visit the Mayan ruins in Tacal, Guatemala. They experienced so much more than they ever expected. He states, we just happened to arrive there when a big full moon ceremony was going on, Michael explained. It was kind of a magical place and real primitive then. Just before sunset, we climbed up Temple 4, which is the highest structure in Tacal. A lot of people were up there, a sundown party almost. So the sun goes down and the full moon pops up, and the triple canopy jungle about 120 feet below us came alive with animals, birds, flocks of toucans and monkeys. It was also enchanting.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see your practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
We were the last ones to leave. As we were climbing down the pyramid, here come the guards. They asked us, "Is anyone else up there?" We said, "Yeah," and the guards climbed up the pyramid. We took off into the jungle and hid. We were supposed to be out of there by then, but we stayed at the ruins all night taking photos. As it was getting towards sunrise, we were sitting in the Plaza Major thinking, we should leave when animals from the jungle, coatimundi, small foxes, marsupials started coming out of the jungle and checking us up. I guess they felt we were no threat. When we looked over toward one of them, we saw two very tall Nordic ETs, a male and a female, walking towards us. It wasn't like they were actually walking or hiking. They were gliding along towards us. They obviously knew we were there, but they made no attempt to look at us or acknowledge us. They just glided around us. They were about 7 feet tall. The man and the woman both had long silver blonde hair. Their clothing was almost like plain Guatemalan clothing, maybe to better blend in, but they were definitely different. After the couple disappeared behind the ruins, my friend and I looked at each other and we both said, "Wow, did you see that?" Why they made their presence known to us, I don't know. But I have had an interest in UFOs since I saw my first one in Wilmington, North Carolina, when I was 14 years old. As a footnote, Michael Johnson has made El Salvador his home since 1994. Evelyn Gordon, co-author of this website that we took this article from, and I met with him when he was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in June of 2016. He was in the U.S. taking care of some family business and fixing up an old ambulance for the people of his village in El Salvador. He is known by the villagers as Señor Pescado, or Mr. Fisherman, because he's the owner of the fishing business. He says he loves helping God's flock of poor, humble people, adding that they are very spiritual and appreciative, and by helping them, their spiritual light can grow bigger. Oh, it's beautiful. Now for some stories crossing over into Bigfoot boundaries. This is entitled, "Bigfoot Makes Soap and Bathe Honestly." Bigfoot are known for their foul, pungent odors, so people assume they simply are dirty and smelly creatures. However, researchers say the smell is deliberately released to repel people who get too close, a bit like a skunk. Whatever the case, one Bigfoot experiencer says Bigfoot actually makes soap and bathe. Thomas Hughes lives in Bigfoot territory, about 20 to 30 miles from the western edge of the Sam Houston National Forest in Texas. Since he was 7 years old, he has roamed the land and seen, heard, and even interacted with Bigfoot. He says, "I consider them my neighbors, so to speak, since we share the land," Thomas states. "They live their way, I live my way. Sometimes we come together, sometimes we don't. We simply live in the same place, and we share the land." One of the things I've been seeing at the ponds and water tanks around here in this area since I was a kid is scummy soap suds. He says, "I couldn't figure out what chemical was bubbling up from the bottom of the ponds or tanks that would cause that to happen. I couldn't come up with anything. Nothing that leaves a residue like that." "Then a woman gave me somewhat of an education," he continued. "Looking at photographs taken on my land, She noticed that I have yellow root growing. She explained that the Bigfoot will pick the yellow root and pulp it with a stone or hard piece of wood so the juices of the plant are running out. Then they mix it with water and use it like soap. So I tried this myself. What I found is that after you pulp the yellow root and rub it on yourself with water, it suds up just like soap does. It resulted in scummy soap suds like I've been seeing around here since I was a kid. Mystery solved. In case you're ever camping and need some Bigfoot soap, here are some photos to help you identify yellow root. It is significant that it long has been used as a natural antibiotic. How about that? Still trudging on in Bigfoot boundaries. This one is entitled Owls Linked to Bigfoot and UFOs. The story begins, I never would have picked this book off the shelf to read until two Bigfoot experiencers, Samantha and Jack, told us about their encounter with giant owls near a Bigfoot home base in the high mountains of western North Carolina. Everything seems much larger over there, Samantha told us back in August 2015. The rocks are huge. I have large rocks on my land, but those on Jack's land are enormous. When you see footprints, they're much larger. Then there's the big brown or beige panther. Even the owls are bigger, Jack said. Oh, they're the largest owls you've ever laid eyes on, Samantha responded. They're gigantic. The big ones are at least 3.5 feet tall with a wingspan of 8 feet. Last night there were so many of them, 5 or 6 owls, just flying back and forth. One was right above us, and its eyes were pitch black. I've never seen eyes like that, Jack added. I've got a real powerful spotlight, and I was shining it right in its face, and there was no shine, no shimmer, no reflection at all whatsoever. I've never seen anything like that before, and I've seen a lot of owls. According to Mike Cleland, author of The Messengers, owls often are seen along with UFO sightings and alien contacts and abductions. To his surprise, his research turned up so many cases that his book is 378 pages in length. Well, Samantha and Jack were in a very active Bigfoot location the night of the giant owls. It's an area known for many UFO sightings, too. But there's also a direct link between UFOs and Bigfoot, according to Bigfoot researcher Kiwani Lespersis, author of The Sasquatch People. His 238-page book includes information conveyed by a dying Sasquatch. It goes on to state, quote, the dying Sasquatch said that contact had been made to us people by the United States military because our government knew the truth and importance of the Bigfoot UFO connection. Some Sasquatch are recruited by a certain race of star people. The Sasquatch are the ET's, quote, ground crew to mine certain minerals, do the heavy work, act as sentries, spy for them, and so on. Well, that makes sense. The dying Sasquatch also relayed a glimpse of the dark side of the U.S. military. Quote, the Sasquatch man told Pam that military personnel had lured him and 2 other Sasquatch into a building under the pretense of being their friend. The military used some form of electromagnetic device to block his use of telepathy and to stop him from dematerializing. Then they gave the creature food with a powerful sedative in it. Once unconscious, they injected an implant to the back of his skull in order to monitor and follow his every move. He was enraged by this deceit. Wow. So the research of these two authors indicates that Samantha and Jack have found a spot where three paranormal phenomena come together: giant owls, Bigfoot, and UFOs. On to a paranormal point. Crying boy in painting. The curse of the crying boy painting. In 1988, a mysterious explosion destroyed the home of the Amos family in Heswall, England. When firemen sifted through the burnt-out shell of the house, they found a framed picture entitled "The Crying Boy," which was a portrait of an angelic-looking boy with a sorrowful expression and a tear rolling down his cheek. But the picture was not even singed by the blaze. Not long afterwards in Bradford there was another blaze, and again a picture of the crying boy was found intact among the smoldering ruins. The head of the Yorkshire Fire Brigade told the national newspapers that pictures of the weird crying boy were frequently found intact in the rubble of houses that had been mysteriously burnt to the ground. Journalists asked him if he thought that the picture was evil and could somehow start the fires, but the fire chief refused to comment. Crying boy. The reports of the unlucky painting causing fires are still occasionally reported. There was a crying boy picture found at a gutted house in Dublin in 1998, but no one has ever found out just who the child is in the supposedly cursed painting. One well-respected researcher into occult matters, a retired schoolmaster from Devon named George Mallory, claimed that to have uncovered the truth in 1995. Mr. Mallory claimed he tracked down the artist behind the controversial painting, an old Spanish postcard artist named Francois Savell, who lives in Madrid. Savell said the crying boy was a little secret urchin he had found wandering around Madrid in 1969. He never spoke, and he had a very sorrowful look in his eyes. Savell painted the boy, and a Catholic priest said the boy was Don Benito, a child who had run away after seeing his parents die in a blaze. The priest told the artist to have nothing to do with the runaway, because wherever he settled, fires of the unknown origin would mysteriously break out. The villagers called him Diablo because of this. Saville ignored the superstitious priest and looked after the boy. The paintings of the little sad orphan made Saville fairly rich, but one day his studio was mysteriously burned to the ground. Saville was ruined, and he accused the little Don Biel of arson. The boy ran off crying and was never seen again. Then, from all over Europe came the reports of the unlucky crying boy paintings, causing blazes. Saville was also regarded as a jinx, and no one commissioned him to paint or would even look at his paintings. In 1976, a car exploded into a fireball on the outskirts of Barcelona after crashing into a wall. The victim was charred beyond recognition, but parts of the victim's driving license in the glove compartment was only partly burned. The name on the license was one 19-year-old Don Benito. Could this have been the same Don Benito who had been the subject of the crying boy painting 8 years earlier? We will probably never know, as no friends or relations ever came forward for the body. Oof. Thank you for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And also tune into my other weekly shows, The Outlander on Fridays, and I co-host on The Kevin Cook Show on Tuesdays. Both air 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and catch my paranormal comic strip called The Outlanders. Direct links can be found at HeidiHollis.com, or just come on over to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and search the site for everything just mentioned. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can keep informed and inspired.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's number 1, number 2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's you, Jamie. Don't be alarmed, but I think there's a guy following you. Maybe we should get that guard dog we talked about? Nothing too scary. Maybe like a Bichon with an attitude? You know, Progressive's collision insurance covers injured dogs and cats at no extra cost, so... Wait, the guy stood up when I stood up. He's on the phone. He's looking right at me. Oh, wait, it's just my reflection. Don't tell anyone about this.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet coverage not available in New Hampshire.